Hello, this is video number 1 of 3. My name's Chris Goldthorpe. I run chess.com, and this video is designed to help new players learn chess notation. Chess notation is how we note the moves of a game. It's how we talk about squares and moves. We use a coordinate system. Normally we're looking at the board from white's point of view. So you'll notice here that this king is on F1. See the F and the 1? Normally these letters should be in lowercase, but on this software they're not. We won't worry about that for now. Now you can see that there are 8 ranks. These horizontal rows are called ranks. There are 8 files. These vertical columns are called files. This is the B file, starting here with B1, B2, B3, and so on, down to B8. So each square has a unique name that consists of first a letter and then a number. So D3 would be here. So here we're looking at the board from black's side of the board. So if we turn this around, we'll see it from white's point of view. And except the letters are upside down and the numbers. But this is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this starts with A over here. A, this file is B, and so on over to this file here, which is H. Okay? When we move a piece in a chess game, if we move a pawn, the only thing we need to note is the square that the pawn finishes on. So I've moved this pawn from E2 to E3. And so the move is written simply E3. So let's start a score sheet that's big enough that we can see it. And we'll show that move a little bigger. And let's make this Verdana 18 just so those of you at home can see it well. Okay, not a comma, period, space, lowercase d, 3. All pawn moves start with a lowercase letter. No exceptions. Every pawn move starts with a lowercase letter. Every move that starts with a lowercase letter is a pawn move. Okay, now we're going to try a different move here. Going back to our game, let's say white makes this move. You should decide how that move would be written. Did you say E4? If you did, that's correct. E4. Of course, when you write this, you would use a lowercase letter. So these capital letters here in Fritz are not helpful in that regard, but we'll ignore that for now. So that move would be written E4, like this. Now, you don't need a capital P when you move a pawn. So it's just like the swimming pool. We don't want any P in there. Okay, so now let's say it's black's move. If your opponent moves a piece that is not a pawn, we're going to include an extra letter. Here he played E5. So now our score sheet would look like this. Both players have made their move number 1 here. Okay, now we get to move 2. Space. And let's go here. Now we're going to move something that is not a pawn. We're going to move a knight. I think everybody knows how to spell knight. The way we spell knight is capital K-N-I-G-H-T. Of course, king is also starting with a K. So we can't use a K for knight, or we might wonder if it's a king. So they did a smart thing a long time ago. Knight, we will use N for that. Now, what square did the knight go to? Well, what file is he in? What letter is that? It's an F. What rank is the knight now on? 3. The knight moved to F3. We don't care where he came from, as long as he is the only knight that can move to that square. So that move would be knight F3. Now it's black's turn. Note that black's move is always on the right. By the way, it's a good practice to try to learn the squares on a board where the squares are not marked. Be able to identify squares from the black or the white side. A later video on chess notation will go into that in more detail. Now, let's say black plays knight c6. See if you can find that move before I make it. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, we're moving knight to c6. I think it is easier for beginners to find the square that the piece moves to first. c6 in this case, because we said knight c6. If you have any trouble finding the square, find the file first. A, B, C. Here's C file. Where's 6? Low numbers on this side. There's a 6. C6 is here. Now it will be obvious to us which knight should go there. It must be this one, right? No, this one. Okay, so that would be knight to c6, and our score sheet would now look like this. Now, if white's third move were this, how would you read that? What kind of piece starts with a capital B? Bishop. What square does the piece move to? C4. So, where is the C? Here's C. Here's 4. Here's C4. It's a white square. This bishop can't move anyway. So white moves bishop to C4. It may seem silly to you right now, but I guarantee at some point you may be going over a game and you might attempt to move for the same color twice in a row. That does happen. So we have to keep track of whose turn it is. White just played bishop to c4. Now you notice on this screen here it uses a picture of the piece instead of an N or a B. This is called figurine algebraic notation. They put capital F, capital A, capital N. When they're talking about a book, you know it's this type of notation. It has one benefit, that people who speak any and all languages can read it. The guy who speaks German looks at this and says, "Oh, der Springer F3." Where the Spanish guy says, "Oh, caballo F3." We don't need different letters. We don't have to have a different set of letters for each language. Now we just have a picture and everyone can use it. Of course, that's not very practical if you're hand writing your moves during a game. Now, just to understand chess notation properly, this is not a good move, but just so we can make an example of a situation where both pieces of the same type can go to one same square. Here, this knight can move to E7, and this knight on C6 can move to E7. If the two that are alike are in different files, here one knight is in the G file, the other knight is in the C file, then we should differentiate by file. That means to tell the difference. So here, if black makes this move, he would say knight G, E7. How would he say this move? That's right, knight C, E7. If the two knights were in the same file, then we would differentiate by rank. So here, black makes this move. And now, again, it's not a good move, but we're going to do it just so we know how to write it. Here's black's reply, bishop c5. We write bc5 and we say bishop c5. For the fourth move, you may know someone who knows how to write down castling. You might already know how to write it. It's 0-0. If you castle on the queen side, there's another 0. But here, white castled on the king side. So he just... I'm not sure why this is not allowing white to castle. Okay, that's pretty silly. Pretty silly. We'll try a new game here. There should be some reason why that's happening. Okay, notice we write castling 0-0, like that. That's how we write castling. Now, in this first segment on writing your moves, your goal is to be able to identify the squares. If someone says C3, you should be able to know right away that C3 is this square here. If somebody moves a piece to a square, you should be able to identify the square that the piece moved to right away. This is F6. The letter comes first. When you get good at doing it from the white side, cover up the letters and numbers on the board and try to be able to name the square without looking at the letters and numbers and without having to count A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Don't have to do that. Then, when you have that down, turn the board around and be able to identify the squares from the black side. If we turn the board around, then right here, where this A1 is, would turn into H8 if I flip the board around. See? That rook is over here now. You should be able to identify the squares from either side. You should be able to set up a chessboard on a board that has no letters and numbers, and people should be able to say moves, and you should be able to immediately, flawlessly make the move on the board that is not marked with the letters and numbers. Once you can do that, you're ready for phase 2 in learning how to write your moves down. And again, this has been